Hi, everybody. Let's see if everything is working. Okay. See if everything's on. Okay. There we go. Okay. I see it. All right. So, okay. This is 1,733 days since Richard was targeted, forcibly removed from his barracks, murdered. Am I allowed to say that? It's the truth, right? It's the truth, and the media tells lies all the time, and they can do it. They can tell lies and get away with it, right? And um, so here we are telling the truth. We have the truth, and this was bigger than the Iran Contra. Bigger than the Iran Contra, because Richard was reporting the criminal trafficking that's cartel tied and military tied on Fort Bliss. And you're going to see a lot of attention given to Fort Bliss at and El Paso. You've already seen that these 100 days. And congratulations to President Trump on a world record for the first 100 days. A world record. I don't know any other 100 days quite like it. And when you look at the list, it's just like in 2015, one of the very first things that we did in our family when President Trump or candidate Trump came down the escalator and made history by saying he was going to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it, and everybody went absolutely crazy. And we were like, "Oh my gosh, he just put a flashlight. He just shined a light on the deficit we have with Mexico." That's what he did. That's what he did. So, who is this man? And of course, he is, he studied economics. He studied economics. Um, and so first thing we did was download his financials, which were available at the time, and they were just went on and on and on and on. One amazing financial after the other. If you've never seen the list, get ready. Your jaw will absolutely drop. And I know that my family lives around the world, and their jaw drops because they see Trump world, Trump towers, um, Trump property, golf courses, hotels. His financials are just absolutely amazing. And for a man with those kinds of real assets that he has built over his lifetime. Um, and they're amazing. You have to download his financials. It's just really amazing, and he's been audited so many times that he absolutely knows what audits are. And how they can be weaponized, So this 100 days has been, uh, when I said 100 years, it's because for some people it would take 100 years to do what he just did in 100 days. It's really, really amazing to see that he would even want to be president with the way they weaponize our justice system. Um, Absolutely, the way they weaponize the media, and how they both cannot be trusted. And so our decision to start our litigation at this point is really because the people voted for President Trump. What does that tell you? They are absolutely in tune with the corruption. They absolutely understand how it can be weaponized against President Trump. And therefore, the feedback that we're getting now is very, very different than 4 years ago. They absolutely understand um, how we've been as up against a very crooked, very corrupt, weaponized judicial system that doesn't really even exist in El Paso. There's no criminal judicial system in El Paso when you think about it, because it's all illegitimate. They're just in a very, very bad situation. And that has been done intentionally. It's being kept that way intentionally. And by people that you think would be on the people's side, right? Who the people think are on their side, they could absolutely do something to correct the broken judicial system in El Paso. Um, so many ways that could happen. I mean, El Paso doesn't even have a legitimate DA, doesn't have a legitimate chief medical examiner. It doesn't have a legitimate judges sitting on a very powerful court called the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. Um, it has a lot of problems there in the federal courthouse with the cartel ties everywhere, and you have real criminals as commanders of Fort Bliss. I mean, real cartel tied um, criminal trafficking friendly, criminal trafficking friendly commanders of Fort Bliss who have targeted our soldiers. It is intentional that they target our soldiers by not following the SOPs for the barracks, by allowing all of these weapons to be through the whole illegal, unauthorized weapons through the barracks, all of the substance abuses, all of the weaponizing of the UCMJ against our soldiers, the mental health system, the VA system there, weaponizing that against our soldiers, then entrapping them with these young girls, underage girls, and filming them, entrapping them with grog parties. Absolutely, this is on purpose. This is by design, um, because the commanders of Fort Bliss and uh, have clearly been cartel friendly, criminal trafficking friendly, and intentionally compromised our soldiers, destroying lives, compromising our soldiers so that they cannot be whistleblowers. Okay, when you have them on film with underage individuals in very compromising situations, they can't be whistleblowers. If they're, underage drinking or using substances, or having weapons, unauthorized weapons, or whatever, uh, they'll use the UCMJ. They'll decide when they want to enforce the rules, and when they will absolutely allow all the breaches in security that they've allowed, even during the um, um, farce of the Cobra Strike, fear mongering. And I say it really was, because they gave uh, all kinds of passes out to girls to bring in to party during a lockdown. when they were told that, oh my gosh, you could catch something, yet they brought in all of these girls, bringing in all of kinds of substances to party, to swap all kinds of body fluid and everything like that. And that was just fine and dandy. That was just fine and dandy to give passes for that. And and I'm sure it's all filmed, right? I'm sure it's all filmed. But it was absolutely intentionally compromising our most valuable assets, our sons and daughters, very young sons and daughters, so that they cannot that they have to be silent when it comes to the cartel tied criminal trafficking that was on our military base that is right there in the front door of our country in El Paso. And it went turbo in 2021, March 2021. It went turbo, um, with the death camp, the emergency intake center, 10,000 children at a time they could take in, and hundreds of thousands of children now, are now mostly dead. That's been reported in Congress. That's been said out loud in Congress. That's not me saying that. Um, and more evidence is coming out. And so when we talk about the treason, the traitor, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, and give hard evidence that supports, that confirms that, and especially with his assistant, Kyla Cardona, um, and her relationship with Leilani Hart, convicted criminal Leilani Hart, with Kyla Cardona's relationship with Eric Johnson, with Kyla's relationship with her own husband in the Fort Bliss JAG office at the time, and more, and there's more. Um, to all of that, and her being the assistant to Sean Cardona Bernabe, Lieutenant General now, um, you know, and him giving orders saying to that they couldn't have another Vanessa Guillen situation. They needed to obstruct and interfere in Richard Halliday's case because they did not um, uh, want accountability, right? They didn't want accountability. We can't have another Vanessa Guillen situation, which means accountability. And it's really, really disrespectful to Vanessa Guillen and Vanessa Guillen's family, because that's how he views her case, really. I mean, that's evidence in itself. You could call it circumstantial evidence, but that's evidence in itself of what a scumbag he is, what a traitor he is. And so now, uh, you know, we the people, and I heard that Texas is trying to ban political memes, because, yeah, uh, uh, they don't like the truth. They don't like the truth. Um, and that art is a way of getting out the truth. We've had that for centuries. You can go way back to fairy tales and rhymes and all of that. Uh, the king with no clothes, right? The king with no clothes. I mean, the emperor with no clothes on. You can go back, and see how art has always revealed the truth to people. And so they probably are going to try to block all of that, the freedom of speech, just like Sam Madrano. And there's so much breaking news that I have to unpack for y'all, because Judge Sam Madrano, was interviewed today. Can you believe it? He didn't go on vacation. He feels it's necessary to do an interview. And and I'll talk more about that tomorrow. It's We need a little time to really analyze it, but just off the cuff, I can tell you that he he attacked Yvonne Rosales for taking the Fifth Amendment, which is her right to do it as many times as she wants. We have a right to speak and a right not to speak, to be silent, like our Lord, like our Lord was silent. You know, you can plead the Fifth. That's our right. That's our given right. We don't have to witness against ourselves. Um, and we can absolutely, knowing that uh, these evil people will take every word that we say and twist and turn it and weaponize it, misuse it, and even use it against us. And so it is absolutely our right to stay silent. The Fifth Amendment is our constitutional right, our God-given right, and you have Judge Samadrano absolutely revealing himself to you and to me, um, how he doesn't value our rights, and he doesn't value Patrick Crusius's right to have a competency hearing. Um, and he absolutely lies. And anybody that has the internet can look up competency hearings and what that is all about, and just see how bad he just lied. And here he is, supposed to be proficient in the law, and yet, you know, he absolutely displayed uh, how he's not proficient in the law. So that is our initial take from this, and tomorrow we'll address more, and really listen to it a second time. So I hope everyone takes a little time out to watch that, because it's really not good news for him. It's not good news for him at all, and rightfully so, because they absolutely made a farce out of the Walmart mass shooting, Patrick Crusius' case. They absolutely made a farce out of it and absolutely lied to us. And it is displayed now in front of everybody that watches this page, these live streams, that it was an operation, and that it was absolutely an operation because of the Mayella family. And now, another breaking news is that Bryan Blake Crusius, Patsy's brother, Patrick Crusius's brother, um, uh, you know, he has been living in El Paso this whole time, these many years, and the media just left him alone, just gave him a free pass. Now that is absolutely despicable. And it's I got sent a message about it, saying, it's demonic. It's demonic to sell out your brother like that, especially your autistic brother like that couldn't even tie his shoes until like 18 years old. We heard couldn't even speak until he was 6, and is a twin, right? And now for this Mayella daughter, who's, it's all cartel tied, in the federal courthouse, and her brother being in the Walmart cybersecurity during the time, and in the DA office, with James Montoya, and Jaime Esparza. With Jaime Esparza, they all knew Mayella's. I mean, he's manages the federal courthouse, and his son's in the DA's office and at Walmart cybersecurity, and he even did time in the FBI El Paso field office. Um, and then now you have Bryan Blake Crusius, the accountant, the CPA there in El Paso. because of the open checkbook, right? Maybe that's just me speculating about the open checkbook and all the millions and millions of dollars. And because Lorraine Mayella also is in the mental health business, and we have information. She was giving mental health advice or services to the victims of the Walmart mass shooting. And their families, can you believe it? I mean, was that a contract? I mean, so all of that information, and that's other news that I wanted to really talk about today is that the seal is broken. The gag order is lifted. There is all of the Walmart mass shooting, the Patrick Crusius case, is open records. So everybody can go to the district clerk's office and ask for the open records, right? Ask for open records, and they should get. The taxpayers um, all over the United States paid for those because it was a federal case, and federal money was put to the case, and then, of course, the state money. So all of that belongs to the people. All of those records belong to the people, and we should be able to see it. We should be able to review it ourselves because we know that James Montoya absolutely, hamstrung himself with this 2028 stamp, not, refusing to sign the anti-bribe line before he took the oath of office, and then tampering. Same thing with usurper, district attorney, wannabe or usurper, Bill Hicks, and then, of course, Jaime Esparza that had this conflict of interest because his sister was at the Walmart and stayed on the case for almost 2 years, 2 years without recusing himself. I wonder if that was for, he wanted a part of the personal gain, right? The money grab from the open checkbook, the application for appointed counsel that Patrick Crucius, just randomly picked El Paso, was very, very poor, very poor. Yet he was from a wealthy family. He was from El Paso, right? Eh, when his family is in El Paso, he absolutely has ties to El Paso, even though he was reportedly living in San Antonio, and then the the family home was in up there near Dallas. So Allen, Texas, right? So just not good reporting at all about all the facts. He absolutely had a connection to El Paso, and it was a big one. It was a big one. Right there in the federal courthouse, right there in the DA's office, right there in the FBI field office, right there at Walmart cybersecurity, right there in mental health. And now his brother is CPA, and stayed silent during all of these false stories and allegations, and even him being pled out to 90 life sentences, when he absolutely knew that Patrick Crucius um, uh, story was very, very different than what they say. Very different. And so now we're getting more and more information coming in about multiple shooters. Those multiple shooters wearing um, army boots, right? Military boots, um, all in black, wearing masks. Um, so this really connects things with Fort Bliss, and so all those records are very important for us to review to get to the truth because of all the reports of the multiple shooters, and that evidence confirms that there were multiple shooters, that Patrick Crusius was not the only one. And even Austin officials revealed that to us, that they also are talking about the multiple shooters, because there's no possible way that there was just Patrick Crusius. And so that, really is, you know, right there with the Mayellas. Um, it's very necessary to get these reports out there at, for public review. We need to know how much they spent, what they spent it on, and we need to see the video footage and all of that. So that's especially for the mall. They could show the video footage for the mall. Since they say nothing happened over there. Well, let's see it. Let's see the mall, Cielo Vista Mall. Um, and this is connected to Richard's case through Danae Katz and Gonzalez Ambrose, her husband, Jonathan Caleb Ambrose. They're both fugitives at the moment. They're both fugitives, but they're not dummies, okay? I think that the media tries to portray them as just con artists or whatever. But Jonathan Ambrose has a very impressive CV, and I don't know if I should say that it was impressive, but it is. He's West Pointer. He was married to a West Pointer previously, and he has Chinese um, computer software. I want to say cyber technician skills. He has business skills, how to do that. I mean, he is no dummy. And being in 14380A at Fort Bliss, he's a veteran. And now a fugitive, but very connected to this case, and being in possession through his wife, Danae Katzen, with Richard's credit cards and financial information after Richard, date of death, after he was murdered. And then, targeting us. Danae targeted us 2 days after we arrived in El Paso, targeted Richard, right? And led us to KTSM because their ties are with KTSM, with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who is also up to no good, a criminal in the Walmart case. So all of that information needs to come out. It ties Fort Bliss together with Richard's case, with the fraud that is being committed with the Walmart victims funds, with the multiple shooters, and the fraud that has been committed by the media to feed us um, false stories, while doing like a quid pro quo to keep it silent about the Mayellas for so long. If we wouldn't report the Mayellas, if we didn't discover the Mayellas through a 2020, it was 2020 article in El Paso Matters, where they mention it, right? They mention it in an incognito way, and we looked it up. Who is this family that's in the criminal justice system? And it's Mayella's in the federal courthouse, in the DA's office, in the FBI field office at Walmart Cybersecurity, and those were in charge of investigating the Walmart mass shooting. And so no one's really asking Judge Sam Madrano any of that, because you know what? He wasn't even presented with any kind of evidence. He did this whole, was it an auto pen? An auto pen agreement? I don't know if it was an auto pen. Did he sign it himself? What is this? I mean, because he wasn't even presented any kind of evidence to send an autistic uh, person that absolutely the evidence confirms that he didn't act alone, to life imprisonment. for, what evidence confirms through Joe Spencer himself and the audio recordings that we have submitted. We have submitted all of this evidence to them, y'all. Um, we haven't kept it a secret at all. We've submitted everything. And he just agrees to, he's a criminal. He's just such a big criminal. Um, and so they need to be held accountable for what they did and what they did to our justice system. You know, just destroying our justice system. And you can see how he's absolutely willing to do that by his interview today attacking the Fifth Amendment, which is part of our criminal justice system, part of our law, part of our right as people, freedom of speech and freedom. Look, they want to put people in jail for a meme, right? But you have shooters out there that caused 23 deaths in an orchestrated political hit. And the political aim was President Trump, was President Trump's supporters, was President Trump's administration, was President Trump's campaign, 2020 campaign. That was this whole Walmart narrative. And so the law is getting really like Hammurabi's law, very, very unjust, very uneven, and really for intentional to allow the criminal trafficking network to continue with all of their crimes with impunity. They want to act with impunity. They don't want to be held accountable for all their crimes. And that would include the traitor, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, um, for compromising our uniform, our stars, our El Paso command position with, you know, very compromised individuals uh, that have cartel ties and criminal trafficking ties. That, yeah, right there has access to very sensitive information. Um, and I'm talking about at the JAG office, sensitive information at the VA office. You're talking about medical history. You're talking about military records. You're talking about um, UCM. You're talking about legal documents, and he gave access to uh, a criminal network into our military. And so it is, and to want to retaliate and take justice away from Richard, the soldier that is a hero, that could not be compromised, that was the Distinguished Honor Graduate for both his cycles in basic training and AIT, that was a guidon bearer, um, combat lifesaver. Um, they tried everything to entrap him, to smear him, everything, and they couldn't, and so they killed him, and uh, that's very upside down, very, very upside down. So we need to hold these people accountable, not let them get away with it for the crimes that they have committed. And we have the evidence. We will use the law. We'll do it right. We have not retaliated. You know, we don't play their games. We absolutely do use memes. We do use songs. We do use poetry. We do whatever is necessary for people to understand how they were used and abused, their taxpayer funds used and abused, their military, their sons and daughters used and abused, the weapons, the arms, everything, where that was supposed to go to Ukraine and over 50% ends up in the hands of the Mexican cartel. And then, of course, all of this substance abuse. Um, and apparently the new stuff, the pink crack. Um, it's the destruction of our country, this absolutely the destruction of our families. And so, yeah, it is really treason. It is, I have no doubt when all the evidence is out there, with all of the, um, oh man, uh, when all the evidence is out there, that um, people will know the truth. People will, and I think they already do. I think they were already do, right, Anicia? I think they already know the truth, and that's why we're getting prayers and love, and we're getting plaques, and more and more veterans groups are reaching out to us. It just takes that one Valhalla, and then it starts a domino effect, and then more reach out. And this is uh, just amazing, amazing. Like we want to wear the bracelet. We have more support every day because people are absolutely starting to piece together what happened here. That it was absolutely first and foremost a political hit, um, campaign against President Trump and his 2020 election, and the border situation. They wanted to keep the border open, and here you have Patrick Crusius living in Sausenbraus. That's what we would say in Germany, Sausenbraus, in the nicest home. We know his address, in the nicest neighborhood, um, living in Sausenbraus while he sells out his brother. And I think his ledgers have a lot of blood on them, because this was a very bloody operation, and and it was absolutely, this open checkbook thing is a very big deal, and it took me a little bit to absorb what the open checkbook demand was from Joe Spencer. But once you understand it, and all the delay, and the incentive for the delay, for the millions of dollars to take from the taxpayers, because even though there's a limit, they didn't limit this. They millions and millions, for the defense of Patrick Crusius. And then, this fake seal on the case to begin with. And there's just so many things wrong. And those so many things wrong are so many things wrong with our son, Richard Halliday's case. The two cases are very intertwined. And so when you solve one, you solve the other. And so this Jonathan Ambrose connection to both of them, right to Richard's unit, is very, very important. And so we need to see that, those files. And is it going to be like JFK? Um, we'll see. We'll see. I put it out there today on Facebook that El Pasoans have the absolute right to know, and the victims and their families have the absolute right to know, what's in the reports and the files, and on the ledger. What did they spend the money on? How much did Joe Spencer get in his open checkbook? How much did he get? We have the right to know. So, it was taxpayers' money, right? We have the right to know. So, thank you, everyone. God bless you, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing all of this information. We are working very, very hard behind the scenes. As you can see, every day we are putting up breaking news. It's breaking news that Patrick Crusius's brother, Bryan Blake Crusius, who married Alexis Mayella, um, was living this whole time in El Paso. It's a little creepy, isn't it? It's a little creepy that when we were there, he's just living there knowing the suffering that he's caused. And absolutely, he's caused that. He's caused it not only on his brother, but on all El Paso, and of course on Fort Bliss, and in our son's case, um, because he knows a lot. And yeah, he's it's pretty rotten. So thank you so much, everyone. And every day we're getting more and more news in. So we will see you